Oh shoot. Oh no 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 no. This entire meltdown started with just an email. Just another message sitting quietly in my inbox. The sender was Columbia University, and the subject line mentioned something called a cyber incident. At first, it didn't sound that urgent, but as I kept reading, the message slowly shifted from calm to alarming. A hacker had infiltrated parts of the university's network and accessed sensitive data connected to hundreds of thousands of people, students, employees, and applicants like you and me. And the strange part is that the story doesn't start with me. It started months earlier, with a cyber attack that quietly unfolded inside one of the most famous universities in the world. In June of 2025, Columbia experienced what initially looked like a routine technology outage. Students began reporting that they couldn't log into university systems, internal tools started failing, and certain online services went offline. For a large institution like Columbia, occasional system disruptions aren't unusual, so at first the problems didn't raise immediate alarm. But as the outages spread, something about the situation didn't seem right. Behind the scenes, cybersecurity teams began investigating the issue and quickly discovered something far more serious than a technical malfunction. Columbia's network had been breached, and an unauthorized attacker had already been inside the system for months. The hacker had quietly downloaded enormous amounts of information from Columbia's internal systems, hundreds of gigabytes of data. The stolen files included admissions records, financial aid documents, and various forms of personal identification information connected to 870,000 individuals. That group included current students, alumni, and faculty, but it also included people who had never actually attended the university, applicants. And when I read this detail, it suddenly became clear why I had received that email. Because at some point in the past, I had submitted an application to Columbia University, and somewhere in those admissions databases was a file containing your names, addresses, birth dates, and full social security numbers, leaving our identities at the mercy of the dark web. What makes the breach particularly unsettling is the amount of time the attacker spent inside the network before anyone noticed. According to reports from investigators, the hacker didn't just break in and immediately steal data. Instead, they moved slowly and carefully, remaining inside Columbia's systems for months without detection. However, something changed. Suspicious activity began triggering alerts inside Columbia's systems, servers started behaving unpredictably, and internal tools began failing across campus. And once Columbia realized what had happened, the university shut down systems and brought in cybersecurity experts to determine exactly what data had been taken. And weeks later, notification emails began appearing in inboxes across the country, starting with mine. Most cyber attacks follow a predictable pattern, with hackers first breaking into systems to steal financial information, demanding ransom payments afterward. But the motivation behind this attack appears to be more complicated than it might seem. On this Inside Higher Education article, Sarah writes, "The person claiming to be the hacker, who didn't provide their name, texted Bloomberg that the purpose of the stolen data was to prove the university continued affirmative action in admissions after the 2023 Supreme Court ruling against such practices. Specifically, the hacker believed universities might still be finding ways to consider race during the admissions process, and they claimed the only way to prove it was to analyze internal admissions data. So instead of targeting banks or corporations, the attacker focused on one of the most stacked universities in the world. But by gaining access to admissions databases, the hacker exposed the personal information of hundreds of thousands of people who had nothing to do with the debate surrounding admissions. You guys." But in response to the breach, Columbia announced that it would provide affected individuals with identity protection services and credit monitoring. These services are designed to detect suspicious financial activity, such as someone attempting to open credit accounts under another person's name. While those protections can help reduce the risk of identity theft, they don't fully eliminate the problem. Unlike passwords or login credentials, social security numbers can't just be changed if they're exposed. And once that information becomes part of a leaked database, it can circulate online indefinitely, sometimes appearing years later in entirely unrelated scams or fraud schemes. And if you were affected by the breach, the most practical response is awareness, freezing credit reports, monitoring financial activity, and paying attention to unusual requests or transactions. But on a bigger scale, if all it takes for our safety to be compromised is a college application, then we were never truly safe in the first place.